Now let's go across to Beijing for Foreign Ministry Zhao Lijian's briefing.
Sri Lanka, I would like to work with Sri Lanka to consolidate our traditional friendship, deepen mutually beneficial cooperation, move forward our bilateral relations, and deliver more benefits to our two countries and peoples. People's Daily. I'd like to ask a question about people-to-people exchange. China said earlier that it will take necessary measures to facilitate foreign nationals' entry to China for essential economic, trade, scientific, and technological activities. So what steps have you taken in respect of visa issuance? Thank you for your question. The Chinese government suspended the entry of the majority of foreigners holding valid visas or residence permits starting from March the 28th, but at the same time, we have facilitated the visa application of foreign nationals seeking entry to China for essential economic, trade, scientific, and technological activities or out of emergent humanitarian needs. So recently, as the epidemics have been brought under control in many countries, the need for personnel exchange has been on the rise. China is relaxing in an orderly and gradual manner visa issuance for foreigners entering China for resumption of work and production and other essential purposes. One more point. For those who hold valid visas or residence permits but need visa renewal, Chinese embassies and consulates will provide related visa service for free.
Question from Associated Press of Pakistan.
巴通社
According to reports, the Council
据
of
报道说，
Afghanistan elders and tribal leaders have approved release of last batch of 400 Taliban prisoners, paving the way for intra-Afghan dialogue. Do you have any comment on that?
阿塔在押人员对此有何评论 ？So, releasing the prisoners is an important part for the Afghan government and Afghan Taliban to establish mutual trust and start intra-Afghan talks. China welcomes that Afghan government and people following their domestic rules and to discuss and decide these major matters through the lawyer jirga. This reflects the principle of Afghan-led, Afghan-owned peace and reconciliation process. I believe this will create favorable conditions for the intra-Afghan talks. Now the situation in Afghanistan is at a critical stage. The relevant parties should earnestly abide by and implement their commitments and agreements signed regarding Afghanistan to ensure the steady and orderly development of the situation. China would like to continue playing a constructive role for the political settlement of the Afghan issue and the peace and reconciliation process in Afghanistan. So, as we understand, the US Health Secretary Azar arrived in Taiwan yesterday, starting his 3-day visit. This morning, he met with Tsai Ing-wen, and he will be holding talks with Taiwan officials. What's your comment? China firmly opposes official ties and exchange between the US and Taiwan. We have lodged stern representations with the U.S. side regarding what you talked about. I'd like to stress once again that the Taiwan question is the most important and sensitive issue in China-U.S. relations. And the One China principle is a political basis for China-U.S. relations. What the U.S. did severely violates its commitment on the Taiwan-related issues. We urge the U.S. to abide by the One China principle and the 3 China-U.S. joint communiques, stop its official exchange and contact with Taiwan in whatever form, stop elevating its relations with Taiwan, deal with Taiwan-related matters with caution and properly so that it will not cause severe damage to China-U.S. cooperation in major areas and the peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. The CCTV. So, on August the 6th, many Russians received a message on their cell phone about the U.S. Department of State offering a reward of $10 million for information on interference in U.S. elections. The U.S. Embassy in Russia confirmed that. And the Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson said the U.S. is seeking selfish gains by inciting Russian residents with deception and propaganda. The U.S. report on Russia's disinformation and propaganda ecosystem violates freedom of speech, which is another U.S. attempt to control media activities. What's your comment? I noticed that report too. So currently in international relations, there has been so much disinformation, so many slanders. All countries should hold an objective and fair position, respect facts, jointly oppose practices of stigmatization, and foster a sound and rational atmosphere for international relations. Xinhua News Agency. As the international landscape is undergoing changes unseen a century, there is also the unprecedented pandemic posing new challenges to the diplomatic work of our countries. How do you comment on China's diplomacy, and looking ahead, what's China's diplomatic priorities? So, this year, COVID-19 has engulfed and impacted the whole world. And China's diplomacy is fully committed to domestic epidemic prevention and control and the resumption of economic activities. We have actively planned and developed our relations with major countries, responded rationally to the unreasonable pressure the U.S. has piled on China, made new progress in advancing China-Russia relations under the strategic guidance of the 2 heads of state, and sustained cooperation as the main tone of China-EU relations. We have been improving our relations with neighboring countries, strengthening solidarity and cooperation with other developing countries. We advocate the building of a community with a shared of common health for mankind. We firmly uphold China's sovereignty and security interests and endeavors to fulfill the purpose of diplomacy for the people. China has always pursued an independent foreign policy of peace, and it will always be a builder of world peace, contributor to global development, and defender of the international order. This hasn't changed and will not change. Looking ahead, China's diplomacy will focus on the following priorities. China will strengthen international cooperation in epidemic prevention and control, actively explore the establishment of joint prevention and control mechanisms with other countries, carry out cooperation in drug and vaccine research and development, provide assistance to countries in need to the best of our ability, and improve global public health governance. We firmly oppose the U.S. bullying practices and power politics. Following the spirit of non-conflict, non-confrontation, mutual respect, and win-win cooperation, we would like to foster China-US relations with the US, featuring coordination, cooperation, and stability. But in the meantime, we must firmly uphold China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, as well as our own legitimate interests and rights to development. We must uphold our major country status and national pride achieved by making tireless endeavors. Though some extremist forces in the US have been stirring up troubles and trying to push our bilateral relationship to a so-called new Cold War, but China's US policy remains consistent and steady. We believe it is necessary for China and the US to engage in candid and effective dialogues and take concrete measures to manage the existing differences. We should focus on and advance our practical cooperation across the board. This this year, COVID-19 has engulfed and impacted the whole world. And China's diplomacy is fully committed to domestic epidemic prevention and control and the resumption of economic activities. We have actively planned and developed our relations with major countries